Hello everybody! Last video I took a look at the performance of Medibang Pro on the Chuwi Hi12. If you've not watched my previous video, then the link for it is in the description box. This video I will look into the performance of Sketchbook as well as the basic pros and cons of the app. Let's get straight into the app. This is the Pro version of the app. When I first downloaded it, I got a 7-day trial period after which I would lose the Pro Tools. But if I purchased the Pro Tools within the trial period, then there was a small discount. Since it was only a matter of £4.29, I went ahead and purchased. Unlike Medibang, Sketchbook has a lot of preset canvas sizes to choose from. There is also the custom option to allow the user to input their own measurements. At the corner of each layer icon next to the canvas sizes, there is a small number on the corner which indicates how many layers you can use when drawing with the canvas size. Along the left side are the brushes and on the right is the layers palette. Across the top is the undo, redo and some extra tools. The first icon along the top pops up the main menu, which holds the options for new sketch, gallery, exporting, uploading direct to DeviantArt, store, preferences, pen mode and support. Next to the undo and redo buttons is the compass icon. In this you'll find a selection of tools including the selection and magic wand and the resize button, as well as my favourite, which is the time-lapse. There's also the option to add text as well as import images. The next icon makes the mini brush size and colour palette appear and disappear, and finally the last icon makes the whole interface's palettes disappear. Sketchbook Pro have incorporated 4 invisible touch buttons on the 4 corners of the canvas, which can be activated and deactivated in the preferences. The bottom left hand corner has the undo button, which you can double click to use. Like with Medibang, having the undo button on the bottom left hand corner has proven to be very useful for me. Clicking on a layer brings up some layer options as well as the blending mode. It only has some basic options such as copy, paste, duplicate and merge. I couldn't find an option for layer clipping or alpha channel lock, which are 2 features I regularly use when colouring in my line arts. The top icon on the left side stores a larger collection of brushes compared to what's on the bar. On majority of the brushes I could barely see any pressure levels. The strokes all look the same no matter how hard I press down on the pen or how light I press down on the pen. In fact, some of the lighter strokes which showed up on Medibang Pro don't show up on the Sketchbook Pro. As you can see, there are gaps in the lines where I've used light pressure. The only brush that I noticed had slight pressure levels was the brush that had the fine liner type icon. I wasn't getting the variation that I usually get in Medibang Pro, but I suppose it's better than nothing. The time-lapse feature allows recording of your drawing. It's like a built-in screen recorder, except it doesn't record the interface, it literally just records every stroke that you make on Sketchbook Pro. I think this is one of the handiest features of Sketchbook Pro. A lot of Android screen recorders as well as Windows screen recorders use a lot of processing power and can slow down the system quite a lot. However, I didn't notice any lag when using the time-lapse in Sketchbook Pro. As I started to sketch out my milk carton, I did notice that the pen was a little bit laggy on this program, like the lines weren't catching up to the pen nib. It wasn't a great deal of lag, but it was noticeable enough. This is something that I didn't notice in the Medibang Pro. There are 2 ways to select colour. Sketchbook quite conveniently have a Copic colour palette, which is great for the many artists who use Copic markers, or just an easy way for quickly selecting colour for those of us who don't use Copic markers. You can also use the colour wheel in order to select a colour from the full palette of colours. Since there is no option for alpha lock or layer clipping, I am choosing the colour I want the final line art to be, as I don't think it can be changed later on. Also, another feature that I miss is the correction feature that was in the Medibang Pro. Sketchbook Pro doesn't have like an auto correction or a line smoother where you can, just set it so that you get nice smooth straight lines. My hands aren't the steadiest and I do make some wobbly lines, so I had to redo a lot of the lines in this sketch to get it just right. You'll notice here that I redo a lot of my lines because I can't get the smooth lines that I want. I find Sketchbook Pro is very difficult to get smooth lines in. Chuwi Hi12 and other devices such as the Windows Surface Pro that use similar styluses like this have a big problem with pen jitter. And that's the same with Chuwi Hi12, so without the corrections, it's very jittery. Unlike Medibang, I can use touch gesture to rotate the canvas, which is a lot easier than rotating with buttons. When colouring in the base layer, I tried to paint in the lines and erase away any colour that went outside. I later realised I could have used the magic wand instead. Because there's no layer clipping option, I then use the magic wand to select the base fill layer, and then create a new layer and paint within the magic wand. That way I stayed within the lines when colouring. Using the airbrush was the most comfortable way for me to shade and blend the colours. I felt the smudge tools left strange marks between the colours. Once I had finished drawing, all I had to do was save the time lapse. You get to choose a file name and it should save into your gallery. You do get the option to save into internal storage, etc, but I like to keep it simple into my gallery. Finally, you have the option to share or upload it direct to DeviantArt or save to your device. Finally, I wanted to test whether the largest canvas size would lag on the Chuwi. Sketchbook Pro only allows 4 layers for the maximum canvas size it can take, which is 1951 by 2830 pixels. At the corner it tells us that's equivalent to 5.52 megapixels. Like Medibang, I cannot choose the DPI. When drawing, I didn't notice any extra lag, other than the slight lag in the brushstroke which I noticed when drawing on the smaller canvas size earlier. However, I did notice a fair bit of lag when zooming and rotating the canvas. So overall, my experience with the Sketchbook Pro on the Chuwi isn't all that great. It's got some good perks like the time-lapse feature and the Copic marker palette, but there was slight lag in the brushstrokes, larger canvas size limits the amount of layers I could have, plus there wasn't much variation in the width of lines, which made it seem like pressure sensitivity was barely there in the app. The app also didn't register some lighter strokes of the pen, which other apps like Medibang can. On top of which, no line correction or smoothing feature available, which led to a lot of time being wasted trying to get not so wobbly lines. And then of course there was no layer clipping or alpha channel lock. I know the app performs better on some other devices, but in terms of pen performance with the Chuwi Hi12, the Sketchbook Pro didn't really do well. That's all I have for you guys on this. Thanks for watching. Bye!